Oscoda.
It is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if everybody could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Hugo.
Here.
Andracchio here. McGuire. Here. Fire.
Here.
Hodges.
Here.
Peakley.
Here.
Hackett.
Here. Okay, everybody is here. Any agenda additions? All right, no agenda additions. And our first public comment period.
We have two cards this evening. First is from Alan Valentine, who would like to talk about the request for easement. I'm sorry.
Do you want to wait until that came up?
That's the board's discretion. There is an item on the agenda this evening dealing with Mr. Valentine's request to swap properties. We could hear from him at that point or as part of the public comment, whatever your pleasure is.
What does the comment have to do with Mr. Valentine? I know that a couple weeks ago, or a couple meetings ago, you had presented
I don't know if you need once a month.
Twice a month.
Oh, well, 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, in essence, I was just notified of this about 10:30 this morning by the secretary, and I had been in contact with the real estate attorney concerning this, who I wanted to represent me and bring some input to you folks about this. So I wanted to ask if this was tabled until the November meeting, so I could arrange to have that attorney here. I tried my best, but unfortunately she was in court.
Okay, that's basic. Okay. Okay, we can take that into consideration when we get there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right.
Second card is from Larry Holland, who would like to offer thanks and talk about procurement.
First of all, I want to offer thanks to Larry Schneider, who put on the haunted house in some area. I went to that and brought the kids, and it was amazing. And anybody that participated on it that I don't know, I just wanted to say thank you. It was a great program. It's very scary. It's really good. I also want to thank to Dan Andracchio. I submitted a FOIA request. FOIA request was fulfilled with regards to Neighbors Volunteer Corporation, Coalition Incorporated, and it was everything I needed, and I appreciate that. The final person I want to offer thanks to is Joan Shepard. She had actually caught two of the individuals that were stealing political funds. It's been a big topic, stealing one of my funds. Over the weekend, filed a police report. The kids have us coming back, and hopefully they end up catching more of them. I encourage people to file a police report that do see that. The final issue is I submitted a letter to Tammy McGuire with regard to procurement policy amendment. Just wanted to quickly read the letter and hand out a copy of the motion I submitted. I won't read the motion. I'd like to offer thanks that hopefully this will be adopted. Dear Ms. McGuire, the purpose of this letter is a follow-up to my verbal request at the September 27, 2004 Township meeting that you lead an effort at our next board meeting to amend the Charter Township procurement policy in obtaining, purchasing, leasing, renting, or selling of materials, services, equipment, and construction. The amendment sought will effectively limit the township's ability to arbitrarily provide no bid contracts in amounts of $5,000 or higher without first posting the contract out for a bid to at least 3 or more organizations or any alternative deal via local public notice and at least one media. The purpose of my requesting such an amendment protects our township, its board of trustees, as well as our administrative staff from what sometimes appears to be the air of perfidy surrounding the contract award process within our township, especially with regards to the award of engineering contracts with all done on a regular basis by our township. It is also my personal opinion that this policy affords the township board of trustees and our township administrative staff the ability to be better informed by receiving different solutions to the same problem, as well as obtaining more competitive bids for our township's projects. Of course, some resistance has been foreseen and anticipated by the introduction and adoption of such a procurement policy by our township, so I also offer a provision that allows for a waiver of the bid requirement within the procurement policy upon a board motion, and upon showing a good cause at an open and regularly scheduled board meeting for the selection of a vendor without a bid, but only on a case-by-case example. This will allow the board minutes to reflect why a particular project is not going out to bid, and force a vote on the issue again, protecting the township board of trustees and administrative staff. I have attached a motion that has been introduced by you to the board of trustees to amend or otherwise create a township procurement policy that will solve the current dilemma and prevent further township disagreements in open meetings like our last one. However, remember that the most important aspect of this motion is protection from various forms of liability to the township, its board of trustees, and our township's administrative staff surrounding the procurement policy. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to discuss them with you. Very truly yours, Larry Holland. We've included a copy of the motion to Jim McGuire. I want to provide a copy more. Thank you. Thank you. That is all.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Holland. Larry, in your letter, maybe I misheard, but did you indicate or imply that there was some dissension at the last board meeting about bidding?
At our last board meeting, there shouldn't have to be a motion to put something out to bid, because it does create kind of an air of perfidy. In your own words, just to summarize, you had indicated that it seems like this guy is getting a lot of no bids, which is kind of a perfidy, air of perfidy. It sounds like misconduct, even if it's not. It kind of just prevents that from ever occurring. And it brings it so that if something isn't going to be bid on, then it has to be put into the open meeting that it's not going to be put out to bid. It kind of just solidifies the procurement policy.
Okay.
So that township, counties all do it.
My concern is that I thought I heard you say that there was some disagreement, and it was unanimous.
I believe that at our last meeting, there was a lot of hesitation at passing that motion. Proceed.
I only remember a unanimous vote. Everybody agreed. That was a good thing.
That is a definite good thing. But as you remember, the meeting with regards to nearly doubling the size of the previous engineering contract without a bid, but that seems like there's misconduct, even if there's not. It's just inappropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Holland.
Thank you.
We have no further cards.
Okay, then we're moving on to the consent agenda items. Is there a motion to accept those, or is there something that someone would like to take out of there to discuss?
I will move to approve the consent agenda items.
Support. Okay, we have a motion by Pappas, support by Hodges on the consent agenda. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Manderachner, yes. Hodges?
Yes.
Hinckley?
Yes.
McGuire? Yes. Hubel?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Okay, motion is passed. And then on to reports, and we'll be hearing from the superintendent, Bob Stalker.
Thank you very much. First item in the report this evening deals with the potential purchase of software for the police department. I've attached actually several memorandums to my report from the police chief and the administrative secretary regarding the proposed software purchase. Specifically, this software would allow the township to continue participating in the Michigan Incident Crime Reporting Program. It's a mandatory criminal statistic gathering and submission program that we've been involved with for several years now. Our current provider, PES, is either out of business or going out of business and can't provide continuing support. Based upon that, as you probably noted from the memorandums, the police department staff interviewed a number of potential vendors and is recommending at this point in time that the proposal from DPP Police Services from Montrose, Michigan, in the amount of $5,000 be accepted. They also talked to Alliance ALES Complete of Holland, who submitted a proposal of $4,675, and a company called LABTUD out of Holt, who submitted a proposal for $5,400. They detailed in a memorandum dated September 30th a number of the reasons why they believe the DPP proposal would best meet our needs. Primarily, they have a very sound track record in dealing with other police agencies. The software offers some customization potential, which they think will best meet our needs, and they've had several experiences in converting from the PES program to their own successfully. I think the memorandum says 43 different police agencies in the state of Michigan. The only fly in the ointment, if you will, in terms of the DPP proposal is the annual maintenance cost is higher than the other vendors submitted. It's after year one, they all charge a maintenance fee. DPP is $1,905. The other two are around $500. However, it's the staff's opinion that the benefits of the program outweigh that cost differential, and they're suggesting that the proposal from DPP be accepted. I would note in forwarding this recommendation that funds exist in the equipment line items within the police fund to make this purchase in the current fiscal year.
Okay. All right, is there a motion or?
I'll move.
Support. Okay, we have motion by Pappas, support by Hinckley to go ahead with the purchase. Any other discussion? Does the police fund budget have to be amended also, or is there a line item in this fiscal year's budget which would allow the purchase?
The equipment line item is a few dollars short. The equipment proper line item is just a few dollars short, so a modest amendment would be required, but there is more than adequate monies available to transfer from the vehicle equipment line item.
So could we make the motion on the table compatible with adjusting the budget? So you only need the one motion then to approve the purchase and adjust the budget?
Certainly.
I would recommend to the motioner and the supportee that we do that.
I'll move on that. I'll support on that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, is there any other questions or discussion? Now I'm assuming the chief and they sat down with these separate individuals?
I know they met in person with the folks from DPP. Whether they interviewed the other ones on the telephone or in person, I'm not certain.
Okay, because they seem to be very supportive of them.
Yes.
Okay. Who is they? The chief and who else?
The administrative secretary in the police department, the person who is primarily involved in using the software.
Did the new sergeants have any input in this at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
Anything else?
On the maintenance, annual maintenance, the difference in the prices, what was the benefit for the police department?
Well, again, I think they detailed what they saw as the benefits in that September 30th memorandum. Yeah. From their perspective, that is what justifies the pricing differential in terms of annual program maintenance cost. And that's program customization, the fact that the company's been around 17 years, they've got an established track record, The folks who they talked with indicated they supported their programs very well in terms of follow-up needs. There are 43 departments that previously used PEFs that made the conversion, and they talked with some of those folks, and were very pleased with the results. There would be minor modifications necessary in terms of computer equipment necessary to handle integration of the software, one new computer, and it's a comprehensive package that offers a number of modules as opposed to having to purchase separate modules from some of the other vendors.
All right. Then let's go ahead and have a roll call.
Hodges,
Yes.
Manderocker, yes. Hafford,
Yes.
Kingsway,
Yes.
Fire,
Yes.
Hugo,
Yes.
McGuire,
No.
Okay, motion has passed.
Okay, moving on. Next item is potential consideration of potential approval for our capital improvement plan, something that was discussed at our most recent work session with some modifications to the capital improvement plan resulting, which I've detailed in my report. They are relatively minor grammatical changes on the first 2 pages. The inclusion of the fire department Straight Street Square remodeling project was added to the capital improvement plan. It was in the draft fiscal year 2005 budget, but not the capital improvement plan, and the assumption is that about half that will be accomplished this fiscal year with a balance occurring next year. The budget for the Van Etten RV Park development item was revised based upon a more current cost estimate than was available when the plan was first put together, and the allocation for next year correlates with what we would consider to be the minimal amount of sale proceeds we might get from the Van Etten waterfront home sale, which was also discussed at the work session. It's actually an item we'll be discussing a little later on in my report. The Riverbank Park development implementation was delayed until 2008. The uncertainty regarding grant funds from the program in question, availability of grant funds is fairly high, so that has been pushed back several years. Obviously, if something changes, it can be moved forward. We had hoped we would have a chance of getting that funded sooner, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. The Old Orchard Park tennis court lights were eliminated from the capital improvement plan based on some concerns expressed at the work session, and the narrative component of the plan describing the projects was amended to reflect those changes, as well as some minor clarifications, including the fact that the FEMA grant may fund the washer and dryer, which are included in the plan in the current fiscal year. Even though it's shown as being implemented at some future date, we may actually be able to get that done this year. So if those changes conform with the board's perception of what should result from discussion at the work session, it would be my suggestion that the plan be adopted in final form.
Obviously, we had a work session where we looked over the capital improvement plan, had some input, obviously, from the various planning commission and other staff heads, and we got our chance to kind of look it over. Is there anything else? Or is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the capital improvement plan as presented.
Support. Okay, that's a motion by McGuire, supported by Byer. Is there anything else? Okay, roll call.
McGuire,
Yes.
Manderocker, yes. Hodges,
Yes.
Hafford,
Yes.
Hugo,
Yes.
Fire,
Yes.
Kingsway,
Yes.
Okay, motion has carried.
Thank you. Next deals with some business items regarding the sewer lagoon reactivation project. They are certificates from our engineer indicating that the particular project components have been completed and acknowledging acceptance of them on behalf of the township. Specifically, we would be talking about certificates for the main base pump station and Borath Contractors, Lagoon Division Number 1, DeVere Construction Company, Lift Station Number 4, Schaff and Associates, the 14-inch force main, Schaff and Associates as well, and Division Number 2 of the Lagoon, Robinson Electric. The execution and submittal of these forms is a requirement of the EDA grant, and therefore I'm seeking the board's authorization to execute the forms on the township's behalf as the designated grantee representative. I'm also seeking the board's authorization for myself or the supervisor, as may be appropriate, to execute other forms of an administrative nature which may be necessary to close out this project, as long as they don't result in any increased cost. And if there was any question, obviously, those would be brought before the board, but I anticipate we'll have some similar paperwork, with the situation being that it would be of advantage to be able to move them ahead instead of waiting for a board meeting potentially in an effort to close this thing out.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Anything else? Any other? Okay, fairly straightforward. Roll call.
Pappas?
Yes.
Hinckley?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Hubel?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Andrew, yes. McGuire?
Yes.
Okay, motion has passed.
Thank you. Next, the item I just spoke of, and that is the potential sale of the home on Van Etten Lake that the township owns. That was discussed also at the work session. The sale of the home is programmed into both our capital improvements plan now and our fiscal year 2005 operating budget. Given that, I'm seeking direction from the board at this point as to a preferred means of executing the sale of the property. There are several potential options, including working through the Office of Economic Development, contracting with a local realty company, including it in an auction process, or a combination of those approaches. There are clearly advantages and disadvantages, as well as cost implications for each approach, and we may wish to consider initiating the effort through use of the Office of Economic Development over the cold weather months, and then trying a more aggressive approach in the spring if we haven't been able to meet some predetermined minimum target price. But certainly any of these options are viable, and I'm seeking your direction as to the approach that you'd like to pursue.
So you're looking at Gary handling it until the spring, basically? How have we envisioned looking to get a real estate agent? I mean, I guess choosing one.
If we were going to go that route, I had actually prepared a draft RFP where we would submit, ask for companies to submit proposals, and it would be based on a combination of factors, with the commission rate to be charged being an important consideration. But experience and demonstrated success with similar properties, et cetera, would also be considerations. So essentially a professional services request for proposal type of a process.
So in essence, this will be another bidding process, right?
It would be if we pursued that avenue, yes.
Could it be presented, Bob, in a way that it could be open to all real estate, maybe for a flat fee, and then anyone bring it to the table? You know, rather than list it with one real estate, it could be open to all.
I think we could pursue an arrangement where it was sold through the Office of Economic Development, but we put all the realtors on notice that if they were acting as a buyer's agent, essentially, we would be willing to pay a commission of X and try and establish some kind of a minimum value for the property. If that's the type of an arrangement you're considering, I think that's possible as well.
Like that would just open the doors to all of them. It would be a little bit more fair.
You want to pursue something like that, Gary, and see mean, does that sound agreeable?
I'd like to see us contact every realtor in the immediate area and just say, what's best you can do for us? Let them compete with each other, rather than, you know. Would this be counted as a commercial problem, or a property, or a residential? Because the rates are different, right?
It would be residential as the ultimate use of the property.
But it's owned by a government entity. Does that make a difference?
Well, we probably wouldn't know for sure until we got the proposals back as to how the realtors were going to treat that, I would think. Either approach, I think everybody would have an opportunity, whether they submitted a bid or to go with the buyer's agent approach. It would just be a question of narrowing it down to one if it was competitive, ultimately. The other way, everybody would have an opportunity until the property were sold.
Well, could you gather a little bit more information on this, Gary, and possibly get back with us on what what the real estate agencies, if they're going to be willing to go after that in the bidding process? I don't know. Maybe we could get some feedback.
I envision that if it's handled through the Office of Economic Development, I envision it as us acting as sort of a listing agent and sharing out a sales commission based on that. We'd like you to come back to you and recommend a selling rate or a selling commission for you to confirm. That way I can tell the real estate agent this is the commission that's being offered.
Get a response in.
All right. Okay.
Okay, we'll provide additional information then.
Okay.
In terms of a commission rate and maybe a minimum price, a recommended minimum price.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the next item, it deals with a proposed cost reimbursement from the district library. There's correspondence attached to my report from the director of the district library indicating that a portion, about half of the millage funds that were approved by the voters this year, will be rebated to governmental units to operate branch libraries based on a formula that's been developed wherein the revenues from the two counties will be segregated, Aranac and Oscoda, and then the monies would be divided up within each county based on the number of public hours that each branch library is open. And the district library is seeking input from the individual governmental units prior to November 1st on that particular formula. Based upon that formula, Oscoda Township in 2005 would get $62,889. Obviously, the receipt of funding in that amount is of significant benefit. In the case of the Parks Library, the reimbursement would amount to 63% of the amount we have in our draft fiscal year 2005 budget, and about 75% of what we actually spent in fiscal year 2003. The Parks Library is somewhat unique, based on my understanding, in that the other branch libraries, the reimbursement would cover or exceed those operating expenses, and then the funds would be used for future operations. But Parks Library is somewhat unusual in terms of the physical size of the facility and the diversity of services that it offers. So we're a little bit different in that regard. I had suggested that consideration might be given to utilizing expenditures on library services as a potential component of the formula, based on the theory that that would represent, to some extent, the level of commitment a community had towards providing library services, and have subsequently discovered that a number of the communities do not segregate their library expenditures, and therefore implementation of that suggestion would be difficult. So given that, I'm suggesting at this point that the board provide notice to the district library that the existing formula is considered acceptable for fiscal year 2005 and that we appreciate the funding support. However, I would suggest that we ask them to consider in the future inclusion of expenditures for library services as a component of the formula. I should also note that the director has indicated that she would be more than happy to attend a township board meeting to discuss this matter if that's the board's desire.
Okay, is there some discussion or motion on that?
I'll move.
Okay, we have a motion by Pappas. There's support.
I'll support.
Okay, we have support by Hodges. And anything else?
Are we going to ask Mrs. Olson to discuss with the board rates beyond 2005 when they come up? Is that the plan? Is that the motion? Accept what they have in place offered now, but ask them to come in for a future year for adjustments to consider the request for full expenditure.
Correct.
Thank you. I'll support that motion.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, roll call.
Hinckley,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Manderocker, yes, Pappas,
Yes.
Hugel,
Yes.
Hodges,
Yes.
Okay, motion has passed.
Okay, under informational items, a follow-up from discussion which occurred at our last meeting, and that is reconsideration of the water system readiness to serve charge. Question had come up at the last meeting regarding the position of our financial advisor, Mr. Traciak at ACI Finance. He's essentially confirmed in writing what he had told me previously, and that is he's suggesting that we consider waiting until year-end to look at the year-end financial results before pursuing potential further reduction of the readiness to serve charge. I've also provided, in addition to that memorandum, a copy of the original recommendation he provided prior to the board initially reducing the rate, as well as a copy of the resolution that was adopted in February implementing the initial rate reduction. Essentially, we started out at $10.92, we went to $9, and at that time, he had suggested we could possibly go as low as $7.25. Obviously, at that point in time, we were unaware of what some of our capital improvement needs were, and that's partially why we decided to hold fire in terms of considering further reductions. And I think that's in part what he's basing his position on, is the recognition of the fact that we've now got a specific $500,000 plus liability identified in our capital improvements plan.
Bob, how deep into next year will it take to get the proper reports that we need here?
In terms of a year-end budget report, that should be available 2 to 3 weeks after December 31st. And then the level of analysis that we request or expect Mr. Traciak and or staff to undertake would be in addition to that. But I would suggest if we're going to go that route that we provide him those results and give him the opportunity to comment. Whether that needs to be a full-fledged detailed analysis or not, I think is a legitimate question, but I would at least appreciate some input from him so that he can contrast what he was envisioning in terms of cash flow when he did his original memo last December with what he's seeing at the end of this fiscal year.
So to summarize, you're talking 3 weeks before the figures are in, and then another week to talk to him about it?
Probably, yes.
So near the end of January?
January, early February, yes.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we that this be on the agenda in late January, early February, as soon as possible. You know, as soon as you can go through the two steps, get the figures and talk to Mr. Tracyak, and that we make a determination right here tonight in October that we will revisit this again as soon as the data is in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and support. I know you put the timeline on there, late January.
Well,
early-
as soon as
yeah, you're just, as soon as, okay.
Right.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, roll call.
Fire,
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
Huber.
Yes.
Hodges.
Yes.
Hinckley.
Yes.
Mandaracchio, yes.
Okay, motion is passed.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then on to the Assistant Superintendent, Gary Kellen.
Thank you. The two action items I have for you this evening involve splitting platted subdivision lots. First one involves Jordanville and Jordanville First Edition subdivision. The applicant owner owns 3 contiguous lots. They're 66-foot wide lots. They'd like to split the interior lot and combine the resulting halves with the contiguous exterior lots. Net result would be 3 66-foot lots would then become 2 99-foot lots. So it's my recommendation for the board to provide approval to split property parcel that involves lot 47 in the Jordanville subdivision and recombine the resulting sublots for the parcel numbers indicated by my report as requested by the applicant owner.
I'll move. Support.
Okay, motion by Hinckley, support by Hodges. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mandaracchio, yes. Hodges.
Yes.
Hinckley.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Huber.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
Fire.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. The next lot split that I have for you involves Limbach-Benetton Creek subdivision. For your reference, it's a piece of property that's situated along F41, approximately across from the Northland Credit Union parking lot. This .94 acre irregular shaped lot currently is developed with a residential house and a commercial business. The owner would like to split the properties between those two land uses. The zoning ordinance requires that two separate properties, one being commercial, abutting a residential property, have some type of screening between them. The zoning administrator has forwarded a recommendation that your approval be conditioned upon that some type of screening that conforms with the zoning ordinance be added between those two land uses. I've met with the property owner. He's agreeable to installing the screening as suggested by the zoning administrator. So it's my recommendation for the board to provide approval to split property parcel identified by my report as proposed in the surveyor sketch that was submitted. The approval should be conditioned upon the applicant installing screening along the new lot line that conforms with the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
I'll move.
Support. Okay, motion and support. Is there anything else? Okay, roll call.
Huber.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Hodges.
Yes.
Fire.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
Hinckley.
Yes.
Mandaracchio, yes.
Motion has passed.
Thank you. The two informational items I have for you are quarterly reports from the OED office, the first being the reuse status report. After I finished drafting the report, I found a mathematical error in the numbers in the summary report that was provided to you, and you'll see the columns for new jobs don't match up with what my report states. The employment counts continue to increase. As the table indicates, 93 additional jobs were reported by the reuse tenants on Wordsmith, bringing the total Wordsmith employment count up to 835 at the end of September. And the final quarterly report is housing sales. You'll notice that since the June report, 6 additional homes have been sold, bringing total sales that have been executed so far, up to 729. There's, at this point, pending purchases, 17 properties, and that would leave 52 properties that haven't been claimed yet. Most of those are the 30-some-odd properties that will be developed along the east side of Steele Avenue that they're just now moving towards. Any questions on the quarterly reports?
I do. Do either one of you recall how many civilian jobs were on the base when the Air Force was still active? Civilian jobs.
The number that was in the comprehensive plan indicated that it fluctuated between 600 and 700 civilian positions.
And now we're at 835.
Yes.
Pretty good job.
Properties are keeping a number of people employed.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Gary. Okay, under other, we would be dealing with the Valentine property access, and that was going to be handled by Mr. Stalker.
2 meetings ago, this matter was tabled, I think with the intent of giving everybody the opportunity to gather information, assess the situation, as well as receiving some input from a legal standpoint. The matter is now being brought back before the board for consideration in terms of action being taken. Obviously, Mr. Valentine has indicated that he would like to see it delayed in terms of a decision being made. That is clearly up to the board. I would suggest, however, that if the issue is going to be evaluated based on legal merit, that the board meeting room in a public session is not the place to do that. I think at this point, if you're going to proceed in making a decision, it should be based on whether or not we believe there is a benefit to the community and this is an appropriate action to consider. If you get beyond that as part of the decision-making process, then the legal considerations become relevant. But I think that's the first tree in the decision-making process is, collectively, does the board believe that there is some merit in granting this request?
Obviously, I know Mr. Valentine, he is looking at putting this off till the November time frame. Is that?
Well, at least for adequate notice to be used, so I can have my lawyer present what he's researching with some data and background on doing this and some legal reasons why it shouldn't be a problem. The other matter is, too, that I've circulated petitions around town, which, since I was only notified of this at 10:30, I haven't the opportunity to go out and collect, because I wanted to bring those to your attention. But I will tell you that I did speak to well over 100 town residents. Not one of them saw there was a reason why this should not be allowed. They, in fact, are the ones I talked to, every one of them signed the petition. So I'd like to present that to you to show you that the public finds no problem with this. And of course, I know you have to judge this on the basis of benefit to the township and so on. We went over this last time, so I won't rehash that, but I think based on the fact that, we purchased this property and did all of our homework, we came to your zoning officer and said, these are what we want to, this is what we want to do in this township, this is what we want to bring to this township. And we're directed to look for a forestry property. The neighbors don't agree with that, and I can understand their point of view. And I still believe that ultimately the township would be better served for this. We intend on bringing hopefully nice recreational options to people here, options that are not available within a 60-mile radius of Oscoda, and ones that will, I think, bring people here for tours. That's one of the proposed options that we're looking at on the property. So, we would like at least the opportunity to table this at least 2 weeks, if not 4 weeks, so that we can bring all of that here and folks can have a say.
Well, I think, as Mr. Stock was kind of getting at, back at that previous meeting, you had that opportunity to lay those out. We could have actually made our decision that evening, and I think that that's actually what you were coming here for, was to seek, I guess, our willingness or unwillingness to do that at that time. We chose to table it, to ask some own questions, possibly do our own investigative, work on that, see exactly what we're dealing with. So I don't know if there's, that's how I'm seeing it. It's basically a willingness or unwillingness by the board, and once we have that answer, then, we can move from there.
I'm speaking for myself, I don't need to do any more research. I talked to a few people, got the answers that I needed, and my answer would have to still be the same, that I still don't believe that there's a public benefit to this, and I think that this is no place for the township to be making any kind of decision. So I would have to say I'd like to make, I don't want to table it, I want to take care of it.
Make a motion.
Yes, to deny his proposal.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion to deny the proposal and a second. Is there some other discussion?
I'm just going to let Mr. Valentine know that I did get his phone message, and I was going to bring his request up before table, but since he's here, so do that.
Mr. Stalker, in the 4 weeks, 28 days since we first dealt with this, to your knowledge, has Mr. Valentine checked with you as far as how the things were going, and when was it going to be on the agenda, or have you had any contact with him at all?
If there was discussion, my recollection is it was shortly after the meeting at which the subject was raised. We haven't talked for some time.
Shortly after would be a couple of days?
Probably. I can't remember for certain, but within that week, I believe, there was discussion that occurred.
It was, and at that time, I did ask Mr. Stalker to keep me appraised of what was going on, and when this was back on the agenda, I didn't anticipate noticing the reality. As we discussed...
But as I was saying, Mr. Valentine, at that point, we were coming back, we were convening, we were letting you know that this was going to be on the agenda. You had that opportunity for input already.
The whole purpose of this, Mr. Ugel, of tabling this in the first place was for both of us to go and look at the legal side of this, et cetera. I'd expended money on this, and you're telling me I'd flush that money down the toilet, because you're not even giving me the opportunity to bring in what I expect folks to do, which I think is not due process. I don't think it's allowing me as a citizen in this community the opportunity to do what you told me to do, which you are also, from my understanding, going forward to do. I mean, I've yet to hear that of what the legal decision was from your attorney.
That would be confidential, but at that point in time when you originally put it forward, you could have had your attorney here, and we tabled it. I know you're taking it that we tabled it for your benefit and our benefit. I don't know that I see it, and we wanted to take some time to look at it.
Well,
I felt that you had come here originally ready to present your argument, and
I still am ready to present my argument. Mr. Dwyer was saying that she did some research. I haven't heard what that research is.
I talked to the assessor's office, and then with the private road, you have access to that road. You can get to your property, and I don't feel by selling you the property or creating a road back behind that this is going to solve your problem with your neighbors.
Well, I mean, have you been out to, have you looked at the plat of the property?
I've seen the photographs that we have had in our board packets.
Well, the property is such that if I face a road, if we bought this 20 acres, I would have a road completely self-contained on our property. There won't be anyone within hundreds of feet of that road. There will be no residences within hundreds of feet of that road.
So every
So
time
there'll
we
be
get...
no opportunity for a neighbor problem.
So every time that somebody comes to the board with a problem with their neighbors, we're supposed to take care of it?
No, ma'am, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that obviously this is a problem that costs the township substantial amounts of money. I asked Mr. Everett the last time I was here to bring forward the facts of what he billed you folks on the barking dog complaint this night by my neighbor, which, as you know, was completely dismissed because the sound level of my dog was so slight it didn't constitute a problem. But Mr. Ephardt, and his response to me was extremely rude, and he told me maybe I shouldn't point guns at people, which was not what I asked. My understanding is that he spent over $10,000. He spent over $10,000 on one barking dog complaint. What benefit is it to the township? I think it's a great benefit for you not to have police officers out there on frivolous matters, to have to go to court and defend things of this nature, or to have to, even go forward with, again, a landlocked property. My next option is, if this is not approved, is obviously to look at the legal possibilities of what requirements the township has to provide access to a landlocked property.
That's fine, my motion stands.
Does your motion include denial? I mean,
The denial of the
clarify.
table and the denial for his proposal on the original meeting.
Okay, I agree.
I have one question. This is not open back and forth. This is.
Oh, it's not back and forth. I just want to know down the future, if our road is being sold commercial, can somebody consider installing that commercial?
Couple things, real quick. First off, and I would like to ask Mr. Valentine just one question. When you purchased this property, where was the easement that you purchased to get to this property?
You mean the 40 acres? Not that.
You had 40 acres, and I understand you purchased an additional 10 that are on the end of this Gagnon Trail?
We purchased the entire 50 property, 50 acres at one time.
Okay, when you purchased it, where was the easement?
There basically was no easement for that 40 acres.
Okay.
The way the property lays out, and you see on the map of it, the 10 acres is at the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's kind of like the head on the bottom. The back 40 acres is to the east of the 10 acres.
Okay.
Now, that property could be accessed by an easement that I could plant myself over our 10-acre property, and that's what we planned on doing. However, the situation is simply put that the neighbors don't want to see that. So if we decide to do something with a commercial nature back there, we're contemplating perhaps doing a separating stable, something along those lines, something that will improve the environment of this community, and something that everyone I've discussed it with has said that's a real wonderful addition to this community. If we were to do that, we would increase the traffic down Gagnon Trail. And I see my neighbor's point. I understand completely they live in a residential environment, and they'd like to keep it. However, that 40-acre property was a separate property. It was co-joined for tax purposes, from what I understand, 10 years ago, and it never had legal access.
Okay, that's all I, that's what I want. The other thing, and it comes up, looking at the plat of property we own, there's actually only about 300 feet on Loud Drive, if I'm correct.
I don't remember the exact amount, but a relatively small amount of property.
Appears to be a couple of lots on Loud Drive. And we do have 2 wells, even though they are functioning right now. We have a water main coming in from Cedar Lake. And I don't think, even if we were to go along with the swap, we would want to cut ourselves off from Loud Drive. If we were to give him, I'm still on the sell. I think it's going to be not a swap, but we should sell, if we were going to sell property for an easement, sell the 40 acres minus the easement for the main, something like that. But he said there wouldn't be a house within several hundred feet. He still would be going behind houses, really from the access off Loud Drive up to his property. And I think it'd be worth talking to those people. Do they want a road, possibly a fairly high traffic road behind their house? I mean, as opposed to asking people in town, what do you think we should do this or not? I think the people that are neighbors that would be affected by a new access would be ones that should be considered also. And if he only had 150 feet of access off of Loud Drive, still would be close to houses there. I mean, really, there's houses on both sides of our small chunk on Loud Drive.
So there are other people that would be involved. And yet you do say you would be several hundred feet from the people you're having problems with now, but would we be back here in 2 years because of other problems? I don't know. But I would still, has there been any consideration to sale or anything like that? We looked at selling an easement. Is that possible?
Well, we did talk about, Mr. Valentine's initial inquiry was regarding an easement, and frankly, I discouraged that because it was my opinion that an easement would devalue the property, and you probably wouldn't be able to get enough money out of that to justify that devaluation. We then talked about sale, and I don't believe that's an option that Mr. Valentine would like to pursue. He can certainly speak for himself in that regard. So it was discussed, but ultimately the swap proposal appeared to be the most feasible of all the things we had discussed.
As far as sales goes, I would have no problem entering a sales agreement with a contingency that we would put our 20 acres on sale, you know, and then once our property is sold, we would you know, I mean, if that resolves it, that would resolve it, but, you know, I just think that in terms of, as Mr. Boyer said, the benefit of this to the public, it's a great benefit to the public, for people really see some harm. Okay,
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and I would go along with a sale, but I don't think swap is the way to go. I would look at, down the road, we are looking at selling the house on Bennett, and sales might be a possibility, but as far as a swap, I don't think a swap is the way to go at this time. Maybe look at some type of sale down the road or in the near future would be what I'd have to.
Well, I think that's what we're looking at is, this is the proposal that was put forth, and there's obviously a motion to not go ahead. I mean, Mr. Valentine, if you wanted to come back with a revised proposal of some sort.
Okay, this motion is to deny the original proposal for a swap, correct?
Right, yes,
And on table.
Do we have a second on that?
Yes, there was a second. Is there any?
Well, I guess, don't think it would solve any problems. A couple of you have mentioned, is it really our job to solve neighborhood problems? And that's one point, but even if it was, you know, I asked Mr. Valentine 4 weeks ago whether he was going to ratchet up the pet grooming dog thing, and I didn't get a clear answer. I think it was maybe, but definitely not a clear no. And we've already alluded to the dog legal issue before. I don't care where the road is, I can see the dog activity increasing in the future, and that's, you're going to have the same problems you had before.
Mr. Barrett, can I ask a simple question?
Sure you can.
Why is it zoning doesn't allow principal use if we didn't intend for people to use? It is a principal allowed use under your zoning. You folks wrote that zoning, not me. When I came to this township, I sat with your zoning officer and said, we want to do this, we raise children, and we want a place where we can have our kennels. We raise horses, we want a place where we can have our horses. And we pulled out your zoning for forestry. It is an allowed principal use. So for you to deny this because someone's going to use the property to amounts to constructive condemnation, which you know and I know is both illegal. You can't sell a property and then constructively condemn it from the use of that person. So to say that we're going to increase that activity, well, number one, we don't plan on increasing the amount of dogs we kennel. But, you know, that's that. We do, however, plan on doing something from a recreational point of view, which we mentioned horseback riding. Traffic on that would be seasonal, you know, to see that as something that would be a detriment to the community. Well, if that's the case, then I suppose we should all go out of the tourism business and we shouldn't have hotels or resorts here. That's what, you know, is one of our largest revenue sources in this community. Secondly, we are the only dog boarding facility, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine. I know we've
not on a
gone there.
residential area.
It's not residential, but it is forestry.
Okay, that's exactly what we're dealing with, and I'll be quite honest, I think that's what Mr. Byers is alluding to, is beyond up and above the dogs, is that I personally don't know if a different access way, different roadway is going to resolve this type of conflict that we're seeing right here.
Well, but You're up in the corner.
But, okay. We do have a motion. Is there any support, anything else? Okay, and I would like to go ahead then with roll call.
Hinckley,
Yes.
McGuire. Yes. Hodges,
Yes?
Manderoski, yes. Fire,
Yes.
Hubel,
Yes.
Caput.
Yes.
Okay, motion is passed.
I would also like to be put on the agenda
You're all
for
right.
the meeting in November. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, second item is the Indian Road Drain Improvement Agreement, and that was going to also be handled by Mr. Stalker.
This is a formalization of essentially the discussion at the last meeting regarding the township's commitment to pay 50% of the cost for replacing the culvert on Indian Road near the Indian Cemetery on Hill Creek. It services Hill Creek. The total cost is $10,917.09, and I'm presenting it this evening and seeking authorization from the board for the supervisor and clerk to execute the document.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Anything else? Okay, roll call.
Hodges,
Yes?
Hubel,
Yes.
Manderoski, yes. Caput,
Yes.
McGuire. Yes. Fire,
Yes.
Hinckley.
Yes.
Okay, motion has passed. And third item is an employee resignation, and that will be handled by Mr. Tellman.
The administrative secretary that performs in my office is a part-time position, and you'll see in your packet a letter from Ms. Franks indicating that she's given us 2 weeks' notice. Actually, those 2 weeks have expired, and her last day was on Friday, so I'm asking the board to formally accept Ms. Franks' resignation, and we'll move forward with the recruitment process.
I'll move with regret.
Support.
And roll call?
McGuire.
Yes.
Hubel,
Yes.
Hodges,
Yes?
Caput,
Yes.
Fire,
Yes.
Manderoski, yes. Hinckley.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried, and now it is time for the second public comment period. And as always, this is where we'll do our best to answer your questions, and you'll have 4 minutes.
We have one card from David Yetbaugh, who would like to talk about Old Orchard Park.
Dave Jeffrall, 4664 Lindholm Drive. First, I'd like to thank the beautification committee that's in the community for the Halloween displays they've set up. I'm sure we all appreciate your contributions. Listen, at the Old Orchard Park, as one resident said to me today, he was wondering about what he called the Mary Hart RV Park out at Old Orchard Park. And I guess he's referencing 10 new RV campsites out there. Now, I looked at the capital improvement project, and I didn't see anything in it for 2004, 2005 for the expansion of any RV campsite. And the DEQ does not have any permits for requests for expanding campsites. And I'd like to know, Mr. Google, what you know about that.
I'm not aware I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at.
Well, there's an expansion of approximately 10 RV sites at Old Orchard Park.
Mr. Snyder is here. He runs the Old Orchard Park. If you'd like to, maybe he could do a little better job of answering your question.
Yeah. Well, That's fine with me. I'd like somebody to answer it, but understand there's been no permits, and there wasn't any appropriation for it. And we're cutting our community service officers, but yet we're taking on these kind of projects where money's not set aside.
Thank you, Ms. Gietta, and I guess,
Okay.
oh,
Then
Just a quick response on that, you mentioned expansion. Basically, it's a definition of redefining a camping area that is allowed up there. We have on our permit, we do have a site for 25 sites that are primitive sites that we usually use for Boy Scout troops, churches, and any kind of responsible groups that can be accountable. We allow them to go up there. We've had the Indian powwow, many different events take place up there. But what I think you're referring to is actually 8 sites that we basically cut out, cleaned up an area, because in the past when we have sent groups up there, we kind of just sent them up without a definition of where to go. And our main concern up there has a lot to do with the fire and danger of fire up there, because it is an isolated area, and it's an area where if uncontrolled groups are let loose up in there, then I do believe it would be quite a hazard. So basically, we redefined the area. We did not expand, and anything that we did do was basically a grass cutting job at a zero cost. There's been many times that we've made additions and subtractions out of the park as far as the amount of sites that we have available, both along the riverfront and in the back. We don't normally, unless it's a major project, like we are undertaking a modification project from site number 40 down to 111, and that does involve the board approval, which we have got, but it's called I believe that's modernization project. But as far as the grass cutting and defining of the camping area up in the horse camp, that is what took place there, and had many actions like that over the last 7 years that we've taken without any question. In the future, I would really appreciate if anyone has questions concerning operations out at the park or at the community center, if they would come to me directly, I could probably answer these questions quite easily.
Thank you. Did I understand that the number of sites at the park have not been expanded? Is that the difference? Well, there's electrical on the two of the sites, and to protect ourselves against liability of the township, I think we should have ground fault electrical outlets with it, but presently they're not. There's been gravel added to the sites where the site. Please, sir, I didn't interrupt you. You can speak, they won't put a time on it. There's been gravel added, there's trees cut, and if it's a modernization plan, and this money's appropriated in the budget, but even if it's modernization, it still requires permitting for a campsite to the DDQ, and also the plans that you provide. And equally so, the health department at the county level to be involved. So these things are taking place. And if it's modernization, I'm all for modernization. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Just want to clarify one more thing. Once again, there is a difference between the two projects that are taken. You want to call it a project, I call it a grass cutting. The modernization does indeed require the plans, the approval, and all of those permits that you mentioned, and that is a separate project from what we have not undertaken that project yet. We will in the springtime. The other setting up of defining of the campsites is not something that requires any type of permitting whatsoever. It is covered under the 25 rustic sites that are permitted or allowed up in the horse camp. And as far as any other permits or planning, there are none.
Well, if it's grass cutting, we're going to go through a lot of lawnmower blades, because there's an awful lot of gravel. But still, the permitting process, when I checked with the DEQ, they said there's been no permits.
Sounds like we have a differing opinion on this.
They considered it an expansion.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
I don't
Gietta.
run the DEQ, and I don't run the Orchard Park. But let me ask another question. Is
think
it true
you're-
that it's
you're-
only for DPW employees only?
Your time is up, sir. I think you're
You
trying
violated
to...
every rule there was. You engaged with people in the first 4-minute public comment, and I'm merely asking.
Is it...
I believe it's part of the horse.
Yeah, it's the horse camp. As it was stated there, we've had Boy Scout troops up there and other
Well,
things, but...
there's some inequity, because there was a sign there, according to residents, and they were told it was DPW employees only.
That's part of a Halloween display.
No, that was no joke, but this took place before Labor Day. This wasn't Halloween. And guards told people
Okay.
it was only DPW employees. I think that's unfair to the rest of the community. Thank you. Listen, I'll take the lie detector. What I'm telling you is what I know to be true.
Dave, they've been working on that, they've been working on the Halloween thing all through September, so if there was a sign for workers, that makes sense, they're working on it.
This was not Halloween. This occurred in late summer. Believe me, it wasn't Halloween.
I think a couple of clarifications, at least from my standpoint, might be of value here. For an item to get into our capital improvement plan, it needs to be $7,500 or more. So that would be the reason that it wouldn't be, that this particular project or a project of this magnitude wouldn't be included. Obviously, there were monies within the budget to implement it because it was done, and I believe done within the budget confines, and I'll confirm that with Mr. Schneider. My understanding, to clarify some of what we just heard, is that the sites are made eligible under the existing license. And the DEQ, in fact, was in the community based on an anonymous complaint they received recently, and they investigated, and I'm sure if there is some concern on their part, we will be made aware of that. So this is a situation where we will be able to report back specifically whatever comments the regulatory agency might have regarding this issue, and we will definitely do that.
And Mr. Chalker, were you aware
Was I aware of what, Dave?
of the expansion of their
First of all, I think calling it an expansion is maybe a little bit of a debatable point, but I would say I was not aware of what happened in terms of the improvements, if we want to call it that, prior to it happening.
Okay, is there...
We have no further cards.
All right, just the informational items, if anyone had anything under those. Okay, then I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Okay, we are adjourned.